All right, Patreon, welcome to the Baltimore Orioles. I almost said Ravens. Baltimore Orioles series preview. This is August 15th. Happy anniversary to my wife. 3 years, haven't killed each other yet. All right, Baltimore Orioles, we just finished playing them for 3. The third game got rained out, but we lost the 2 games that we did play. Lost 2 out of 3 to the Guardians. Scored 3 runs in that 3-game series. Did not look good. We saw Barrios pitch. We saw, I believe, White pitch. And then we saw Gosman lose yesterday. Well, in this Baltimore series, Kikuchi's taking the bump. Then tomorrow we got Manoah. And then on Wednesday afternoon, Ross Stripling makes his return. So excited to see how this all shakes out. You guys know the deal here. We got to start winning these games. We got a lot of games against Baltimore coming up. Got a lot of games against people that we are going to be fighting for the wild card in. I don't want to spend too much time on this matchup. We just went over it a few days ago. Everything else is going to stay the same. If we look at the matchup predictor on ESPN here, the Jays are heavily favored in all 3 games of this series. It's in Toronto. We need to win 2 out of 3 as a minimum. Got to win 2 out of 3. I'd rather see a sweep. I mean, obviously everybody's going to say that, but here's why. If we look at the Blue Jays schedule beyond this Baltimore matchup, we're going to New York for 4. That's a mega series. And then that road trip continues into Boston. Boston's hit or miss. Last time we were in Fenway, we humiliated them. Everybody remembers that 37-2 game. Boston, I think, is going to put up a better fight. I don't think they're going to just roll over and die. They are professional athletes. They've got pride on the line. The pep talk is pretty simple that morning, right? Blue Jays stunk us out of our own barn last time they were here. Not in our house, baby. That's the pep talk. Beyond this little stretch of games, though, the schedule does lighten up, and this is the last time it kind of lightens up for the rest of the year. But we got 3 versus the Angels, 3 versus the Cubs, and then 3 versus the Pirates before it's another stretch against the Orioles. So we need to start winning these games. Manoah has been great all year. Last couple starts have been kind of rocky. Hasn't gone too deep into ball games. His ERA is sitting around 4 since the All-Star break. That's just not going to cut it from our number 1 guy. Kikuchi. Which Kikuchi's going to show up? Ross Stripling. Is he 100% healthy? Is he being rushed back? We'll see. 3 games worth keeping an eye on for sure, though, this week. Let's have a look at the rest of the schedules here. So I want to take a look at the standings first. Let's have a look. We got Toronto holding on to that number 1 wild card spot. Seattle lost 2 of their last 3 games, so they kind of just kept pace with us. Tampa Bay just won the last 2 against Baltimore. We're still right in the thick of it. But if we look at the schedule of these teams, so I want to look at the Blue Jays, obviously, the Mariners, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Baltimore Orioles, the Twins, White Sox, and Guardians. Okay, one of those 3 teams is going to win that division. We've kind of been assuming all year that at least 2 of those wild cards were going to come out of the AL East, whether it's Toronto, Tampa Bay, or Baltimore. I mean, all year we were kind of saying Boston instead of Baltimore, but it still rings true if we swap Baltimore and Boston. I'm starting to doubt that. Okay. All 3 of our AL East teams here, the Rays, ourselves, and the Baltimore Orioles, we've all got a pretty tight schedule here. Whereas the Twins, the Guardians, and the White Sox have a much lighter schedule than us. Also, I'm going to spoil this right now. The Seattle Mariners have a very, very soft schedule the rest of the way. And this is concerning for me. I think it should be concerning for you, but let's dive into it. Here's the quick breakdown of So I've gone ahead and look at the schedule, and I've broken the categories into very hard games. These are games against like 70-plus win teams. Okay, this is the New York Yankees, the Houston Astros, the Atlanta Braves, teams of that caliber. And then I've broken it into very easy games. These don't mean guaranteed losses, guaranteed wins, okay? Anything can happen. But very easy games. These are teams that are well below 500, right? 10 games below 500. We're talking the Cubs, the Pirates, the Tigers, the Athletics, the Royals, teams like this. Okay, so if we look at the Blue Jays first, we've got 49 games left, only 7 of them against very hard teams. So that's 7 games against the Yankees for the rest of the season, and we've got 12 games that are very easy. That's 3 against the Angels, 3 against the Cubs, 3 against the Pirates, and 3 against the Rangers. Then we have 30 other games where anything can happen. These are games that are against the Tampa Bay Rays. These are games that are against the the Orioles. These are games that are against the Twins and the Guardians. Like this is, and it starts today, is my point. These games against the Baltimore Orioles, we need to start winning these games. If we look at Baltimore's schedule, comparable to ours, they have 10 very hard games. That's 7 against the Houston Astros, 3 against the Yankees, and 9 very easy games. 3 against Detroit, 2 against the Washington Nationals, 3 against Oakland, and 1 against Chicago, with 29 others, 13 of which being against us. Okay, so we're going to see a lot of Baltimore over the next 7 weeks. They've got a harder schedule than us, but we got to start winning these games. If we look at Tampa Bay, 49 games left for Tampa Bay. 15 fall into the very hard category. That's 9 against the Yankees, 6 against the Houston Astros, and 13 that I would categorize as very easy. This is 4 games against the Kansas City Royals, which is coming up next week. It's 4 against the Angels right after that. Then they've got 2 against Miami and 3 against the Texas Rangers in mid-September there, with 29 toss-up other games in the middle. So, I mean, if you're comparing the Blue Jays, the Orioles, and the Tampa Bay Rays in terms of difficulty of schedule remaining, and I know this is an oversimplification, the Jays have the fewest very hard games, 7 against the Yankees. Baltimore has 10 very hard games, and the Tampa Bay Rays have 15 very hard games, 9 against the Yankees, 6 against the Astros. Easy games or very easy games, it's all very similar. Tampa Bay has 13 of those left. Baltimore has 9 of those left, and the Blue Jays have 12. I would say the edge to the schedule, just for looking at these 3, goes to the Blue Jays. We have the inside track on this, but we got to take care of business. I mentioned the Seattle Mariners. Let's have a look at their schedule now. Unfortunately, I looked as hard as I could. The only very hard games that I could find is 3 against the Atlanta Braves. So the Seattle Mariners have 46 games remaining. And the only thing that I would consider very hard, maybe you could lump the San Diego Padres into that, but if we expand on our description of very hard too much, I got to adjust those numbers for the Blue Jays and everybody else as well. So fitting the criteria, these are like 70-ish plus teams. The Atlanta Braves is the only 3 very hard matchups left for the Seattle Mariners. As far as very easy matchups go, and this is the double whammy for Seattle, hardly any very hard games and a lot of very easy games. Again, these don't mean guaranteed wins. These don't mean guaranteed losses, but it is something to consider. 3 against the Atlanta Braves as far as very easy goes. They've got 7 against the LA Angels, 6 against the Oakland Athletics, 2 against the Washington Nationals, 7 against the Detroit Tigers, 3 against the Royals, and 3 against the Texas Rangers. If you did the math in your head like I did, it's 28 very easy games. That is not what we want to see here for those Seattle Mariners. So again, if we look at where the Mariners are in the schedule or in the standings right now, holding on to that second wild card spot, just a half a game back of our Toronto Blue Jays, but with fewer very hard games. So half as many very hard games as we've got, and more than double the amount of very easy games. Inside track goes to the Seattle Mariners for that number one wild card spot. Hard to deny it. The only way to make amends there is to win all those games in the middle, and that again starts today against the Baltimore Orioles. If we just for fun, I don't want to get too in depth with these other teams, but just considering the Minnesota Twins, the Cleveland Guardians, and the Chicago White Sox, here's why I think maybe one of them does steal a wild card spot. Very easy schedule coming up for these guys. 19 very easy games for the Twins, 7 very hard games, and 23 others. The Cleveland Guardians, on the other hand, 19 very easy games, 0 very hard games. Just unreal. Chicago White Sox, 19 very easy games, and just 4 very hard games coming up on the schedule for them. So I don't know. This is a 6-team race for 4 spots. I really think that there's a chance that a second wild card spot does come out of that AL Central. That Cleveland, Minnesota, Chicago White Sox, very soft schedule, especially when compared to the AL East, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Baltimore Orioles, the Toronto Blue Jays. But a massive advantage for those Seattle Mariners. 3 very hard games against Atlanta, and 28 of their remaining 46 games. That's over half of their games left on the schedule are against teams that are like 10 plus under 500. When you look at it that way, we really got to get our shit sorted out against Baltimore. 3-game series in Toronto before heading to New York and Boston. We've got to start pulling out some wins here. We've got to correct the ship. I think if Kikuchi lays another egg, he's got to go to the bullpen. We'll go with Stripling and White or what. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Got to start winning. Thanks, everybody, supporting us on Patreon. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. That is Tuesday morning for the Monday morning mailbag on a Tuesday afternoon. Cheers. Go Jays, go.